people who did this, so they know that if they would be caught.
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to the Struggle Video News. I have to explain the meaning of an old Russian word to you. It's pogrom. It means a violent mob attack on a minority group. It's Russian, but it's also gotten into the Yiddish language of Jews, because Jews were the most likely victim of pogroms in old Russia. We used to have them regularly in the United States against blacks. Here they were called race riots. Whatever you want to call them, a mob of at least 400 Israelis attacked cars and homes in Huwara, which is a town of 7,000 on the West Bank in Palestine, supposedly in revenge because 2 Israeli children were killed, supposedly by a Palestinian. Benzion Sanders from the Israeli Soldiers Group Breaking the Silence wrote this on a tweet. Sunday night pogroms, West Bank, 70 plus houses burned, 100 plus cars burned, tens injured, 1 killed, 6 arrests. I point out that the Israelis arrested were detained for attacking Israeli soldiers, not for any of the arsons, and a court let them all go. By the way, 1 Palestinian was killed. His name was Sami al-Aktash. These are his children at his grave. The next day, an American was killed in the West Bank. His name was Ilan Ganeles. He was from West Hartford, Connecticut. There was major coverage in the U.S. media, and very shortly 3 Palestinians were arrested for his killing. What about the death of Sami al-Aktash? Do you think the Israeli police are even investigating? Don't kid yourself. As you see video of the burning, note the voices of people praying Jewish prayers. Either they had taken time off from the mob attack to pray, or they were some kind of cheerleading chaplains of the event. This man, who evidently follows the Kahana cult variant of the Jewish religion, says, "There is something very exciting here. Jews are not silent. What the army is unable to do, what the police will never do, simple Jews come and do a natural act of revenge. They set fire to everything that comes next to them."
באים יהודים פשוטים ועושים את המעשה הטבעי של נקמה, מציתים פה מכל הבא ליד.
The army says that it was unprepared for the size of the pogrom. Baloney. The Israeli group B'Tselem writes, "This is exactly what Israeli control looks like. The settlers carry out the attack, the military secures it, the politicians back it. It's a synergy." All the cars in this lot were set on fire. Here is what the lot looks like now. The main street in the town is now shut down. No Palestinian is allowed to open up his shop. Journalist Gideon Levy on Democracy Now! Said that Israelis are free to drive into Huwara to see what they still need to burn. This man was arrested for parking his car near his shop. Breaking the Silence wrote, after Goldstein massacred Palestinian worshippers in 1994, the IDF shut down Hebron for 2 months. The same thing is happening now in Huwara. These policies are not anomalies. They're features of the occupation. This is the leader of the U.S. Senate, Chuck Schumer. On February 24th, in Israel, he said, as Senate Majority Leader, the highest-ranking Jewish American elected official in history, I stand here in the shadow of my ancestors who perished in the Holocaust to promise that as long as Hashem breathes air into my lungs, the United States Senate will stand behind Israel with our fullest support. Consider what that means. There is nothing that Israel could do that would stop Chuck Schumer from standing behind the Israeli government. On the 25th, he was shown in a photo with his arm around Benjamin Netanyahu. That was a day before Huwara suffered the pogrom. Well, it's been 4 days now since the race riot. What has Schumer said about what happened in Huwara? I've been looking at Twitter, his website, and Facebook. Not a word about Huwara. Schumer indeed stands behind Israel, even as it displays naked supremacist apartheid. This is Bezalel Smotrich, Israel's finance minister. After the pogrom, he called for the town of Huwara to be wiped out. He's slated to come to the United States on March 12th to address a dinner in Washington, D.C. selling Israel bonds. These bonds are money loaned to Israel to be used for any purpose. The Israeli paper Riot says that Israel takes in $1 billion a year via Israel bonds. Many U.S. states own Israel bonds. They use teacher and public employee pension money to buy the bonds. In Connecticut, the Treasury owns $1.5 million in bonds among its many, many investments in Israel, totaling, at last count, over $85 million. In other news, in a first vote, the Israeli Knesset has voted in favor of a law establishing a death sentence for a person who kills an Israeli as an act motivated by racism or hostility toward the public, and with the aim of harming the state of Israel and the revival of Jewish people in its land. Look at those words in red. It means there will only be a death penalty for Palestinians. Israeli Jews who commit acts of terror always say it's for the benefit of the state of Israel, so they can kill without the least fear of a death penalty. We've been talking about Issa Amro of Hebron the last few weeks. He tweeted, "Happening now, Israeli female settlers raided the land next to my house in Tel Rameda and protested outside my house at wall. They were full of hate and racism. It is so scary. They lost their mind completely." Yet there are some hopeful signs. These Israelis on February 28th, perhaps in the thousands, rallied against the pogrom. Notice, unlike the Israeli rallies you might have seen on TV to essentially defend Jewish-only democratic rights, this march had few, if any, Israeli flags.
Police officers throwing stun grenades. This is a question that every single person needs to ask themselves. Where were the police in Huwara? They're attacking us now. But hundreds of settlers burning down Palestinian neighborhoods, and not one police officer. Efo haitem beChuwara.
And in the United States, on Sunday, March 5th, Jewish Voice for Peace is encouraging people to rally in Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn, New York at 3 p.m. and then to march to Senator Chuck Schumer's home. Hopefully, there will be many other rallies like this across the U.S. A video from Jewish Voice for Peace about its strategy.
JVP has a plan to stop U.S. support for Israeli oppression of Palestinians. We're building an unstoppable movement of Jews, tech workers, students and elders, religious leaders, activists and allies, people just like you, who are committed to Palestinian liberation and a Judaism beyond Zionism.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
We need you. We must show up with our full hearts. We absolutely have to turn our outrage into action, demanding an end to Israeli apartheid. We're making big strides. We're changing hearts and minds all over the country. We're uniting and we will not stop. Those who back injustice tell lies to pit us against each other. They're desperate to distract and divide, because nothing is more terrifying to our opposition than the power we have when we join together. We can create a world where everyone lives in freedom, justice, and dignity, from the US to Palestine. But we can't do it without you. Join us.
2 points should be added to this strategy. Jewish Voice for Peace needs to explain to U.S. Jews that Zionism actually endangers them because of its alliance with the U.S. ultra-right. Also, JVP needs to show how the Israeli religious establishment hates the majority of U.S. Jews because they don't blindly follow a combination of ritual fetishism and Kahanist bloody-mindedness. As the first item in our Ukraine coverage, I want to mention again the campaign by Promoting Enduring Peace and the Ukraine Socialist Solidarity Campaign calling for a ban on the import of Russian uranium. The petition campaign now has over 4,600 signers. The petition's simple ask has this background. A ban would help Ukrainians resist the Russian attack, as it would cut into the revenues of the Russian government. It would also put pressure on the U.S. government to phase out dangerous nuclear power plants, since most uranium is imported either from Russia or from a Russian-owned company in Kazakhstan. Here's a QR code that will get you to the petition. Let climate activists and your members of Congress know about it. Last week we had a couple pictures of a tiny rally in San Francisco calling on the U.S. government to stop sending weapons to Ukraine. This week, here is video of some 1,000 people gathering in the same city, in San Francisco, in support of the Ukrainians.
Women, life and freedom in Iran is the refrain.
But it wasn't just any protest, because for the first time in several years, the protesters from Ukrainian American community were joined by groups from all different parts of the world. Here's a short video of that event. It started with the Ukrainian national anthem.
Which all he does is bomb what? Hospitals, maternity wards, schools, departments.
A Ukrainian poet recited one of her works.
Будем сіять барвисті квітки, будем сіять квітки на морозі, будем лить на них сльози гіркі, і від сліз тих гарячих розтане.
Several local politicians spoke.
That this fascist dictatorship unfortunately has some support in this country, in the United States, with right-wingers who are supporting Putin, who are opposing President Biden's effort to support Ukraine. But I know that the American people are not going to give up.
Again, what happens in Ukraine doesn't mean it won't happen in Moldova, doesn't mean it'll happen in Poland, doesn't mean it'll happen in Sweden, doesn't mean it'll happen here at the United States.
Here's the speaker from the Lithuanian
We're very small, but we are powerful. We broke up Soviet Union, don't forget that. So, since the war started, I have been in Ukraine 3 times, delivering the aid. And today, I'm going to speak on behalf of 4 organizations. The World Lithuanian Community, the American Lithuanian Community, also Gedimino Legionas and only people.
A representative of the Belarus community spoke.
It's our war as well as yours. So, and I also represent, I think most importantly, the voice of free Belarus and free Belarusians. We do not support war. Belarus is not equal Lukashenko. It's profoundly important for us that the world will understand. So, as an example, for now it's been 2.5 years of unprecedented repressions in Belarus. We're having at least 20, we don't really know how many thousands of political prisoners now are in jail, in prison. So just because they want to be heard and say that dictators should go. And yesterday, as a sign of solidarity, in Minsk, on one of the buildings, so the Ukrainian flag was raised. I just want to say, these people who did this, so they know that if they would be caught, so that would be 20, maybe 30 years in prison.
This is Sean from Bay Area for Iran.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here today, and I am struck as I listen to all of our fellow speakers by the similarities of our struggles and how aligned our demands are. As Iranians and human rights defenders, we strongly condemn the Islamic Republic's support of Russia's brutality against the people of Ukraine. The Islamic Republic has sent countless drones to Putin to continue his aggression. This is entirely inhumane, as are the endless acts of terrorism that the Islamic Republic and Russia engage in all over the world. As members of the Iranian community, we denounce the actions of the Islamic Republic, and we assert that they do not reflect the views of the Iranian people. We stand with the tyrant's face may change form from Putin to Khamenei and Khamenei to the next, but their malintent and tyrannical methods are nearly identical and equally reprehensible. They rape, they torture, terrorize, and kill. We, Bay Area for Iran, are here to take a clear stand with the people of Iran, or with the people of Ukraine, and demand that the world's leader take action against the Islamic Republic, whose hands are stained with the blood of innocent Iranians and Ukrainians, and stronger as a united force and much more determined. There are two chants I'd like to leave with today. The first one is Zan Zindagi Azadi. This has been the rallying cry of the protest movement in Iran, and its roots originate in a Kurdish chant, Jin Jian Azadi, which means woman, life, freedom. Women, because no country is free until its women are free. Life, because we all have the freedom to pursue our dreams, and Azadi for freedom to live our lives and pursue happiness. So I would love it if we could all just chant one time. Women, life, freedom.
Women, life, freedom.
When Ukraine is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Iranians are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Thank you.
My name is Cheryl Zer, and I just have to take a quick look. I'm so inspired to be here today. I'm a native Bay Arean, and I'm the co-chair of the Ukraine Socialist Solidarity Campaign. And just to be clear, we have nothing to do with the crimes that have been committed in the name of so-called socialism, the Soviet Union and all the other regimes. We stand for a world of equality and freedom. And we organized in April, a year ago in April, to be part of the global movement to defend and be in solidarity with Ukraine, to demand Ukraine's right for self-determination and the right to receive arms, all the arms that they need, the best weapons that they can have so they can win this war and end the tyranny of Putin. That's what we stand for. And I'm so moved today to see everyone here, but especially the solidarity with the Iranians, the Belarusians. We participated in protests with the people of Burma, who are also suffering under a dictatorship that is aligned with Putin and suffering under that genocidal regime. And as well as, I don't know if there are any Syrians here, but the Syrian people were the first to experience that. Was the practice ground for Putin and the bombing of Assad and the bombing of their own people. So the Syrians understand better than anyone else the genocidal crimes of Putin, and he will be held accountable. So I just want to say that we're going to go forward in this fight, and the more unity that we can have between all the people that are fighting against tyranny and brutal regimes around the world, the stronger we'll be. Slava Ukraine!
The rally was...
Now to a completely different issue. Laws that are often called aid in dying. More honestly, it's called medically assisted suicide. It's legal in a number of U.S. states and in Canada. A group in Connecticut called Progressives Against Medical Assisted Suicide are fighting the measure. This is from a press conference they held in Hartford's Legislative Office Building.
My name is Joan Kavanaugh. I'm a member of Progressives Against Medical Assisted Suicide. If assisted suicide is legal, some people's lives will be ended without their consent through mistakes and abuse. No safeguards have ever been enacted or even proposed that can prevent this outcome, which can never be undone. These are the words of the late Marilyn Golden, who was the senior policy analyst for the Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund. I'm just going to say a few words about Progressives Against Medical Assisted Suicide, and then I will introduce each of our speakers. Progressives Against Medical Assisted Suicide opposes any legislation or court edict that would make it legal for doctors to prescribe lethal drugs to end their patients' lives. We believe in universal, comprehensive, unrestricted, fully accessible, quality health care for all. We see MAS, medical assisted suicide, as a frightening and serious step backwards, a threat to the lives of the most vulnerable among us. It is cheaper to send a patient off to die than it is to meet their needs to live. Why is this reality of our broken and discriminatory medical system conveniently ignored when physician-assisted suicide is being promoted?
Not a slippery slope. Euthanasia, eugenics, is a juggernaut. Some of us have been resisting, trying to hold back this juggernaut for decades. I'm one of them. In a minute, I'm going to sing Not Dead Yet, because we're not dead yet. And yet, there will be people testifying today that they would rather be dead than to be like me, and to be like some of the people that I have loved.
See the whole hearing online. Go to YouTube and search for The Struggle Video News. And now, to warm your heart in just 37 seconds, video of a little girl who was saved by the white helmets after the earthquake in Idlib, Syria.
شو اسمك؟ ليش اسمك كأس العالم؟ هيك. ليش سموكي كأس العالم؟
هيك أنقذوني.
مين أنقذك؟
الدفاع المدني.
ليش وين كنتي؟
تحت الأبوج.
تحت الأنقاض؟
إيه على الأبوج.
يلا. شو كان اسمك قبل كأس العالم؟
كان اسمي إيلان.
وهلا شو صار؟
هلا صار كأس العالم.
أيوة. على راسي كأس العالم.
That should make your day. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller for the Struggle Video News.